Absolutely. So we're going to have Congressman Carter, who's been a champion of this while he was here in the Senate, and then has been a champion in Congress. Congressman Carter, you can have a seat here if you want to, or you can,
Thank you.
up there. Just as an introduction, Congressman Carter is a pharmacist, and as part of the Healthcare Doctors Caucus in D.C., and has been a advocate for patients both here and in Washington. And the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank all of you for allowing me to be here and to testify on this. This is something that is extremely important to me. As you heard, I have the honor and privilege of representing the 1st Congressional District of Georgia in the United States Congress. I served 10 years up here in the Georgia State Legislature. This is not something new that I have been just started working on. I've been working on this. And the reason why is because I was a retail pharmacist. I was the one who had to go to the counter and tell the senior citizen how much their prescription was. I was the one who watched the senior citizen as they had to make a decision between buying groceries and paying for their medicine. I was the one who had to go tell the mother how much their antibiotic was for their child and watched her in tears as she tried to figure out how she was going to pay for that medication. I set as my goal and my focus to do something about high prescription drug costs. I worked on it when I was up here. I'm working on it still in Congress. When I first got to Congress, the first thing I did was to go to the FTC and ask them to look into the vertical integration that exists in the healthcare drug pricing market, where the insurance company owns the PBM, that owns the group purchasing organization, that owns the pharmacy, that owns the doctor. The highest employer of doctors in this country is United Healthcare. They employ 9,000 doctors. They're an insurance company. Folks, this is a system that is broken, and we're trying to fix it. Finally, a year and a half ago, the FTC agreed to enter into what they call a 6B study, where they are looking at the impact of PBMs on independent retail pharmacies. Already into that, they've told us that it would take probably 2 to 5 years before they would be finished with this study. Already, they have rescinded and retracted statements that they made about PBMs in the past, about the benefits of PBMs, saying that that is no longer the case. Now, that's not me just making that up. You can look. You can look at the FTC and see what they've done. They have retracted those. Folks, 3 PBMs control 80% of the market. Now, let me preface this by saying I'm not opposed to anybody making money. I get it. We live in a capitalistic society. I own my own pharmacy for over 32 years. I wanted to serve patients, and yes, I wanted to make money too, and there's nothing wrong with that. But tell me the value that these PBMs are bringing to the healthcare system. They are not bringing value to the healthcare system. Now, we're trying to address it at the federal level. I've got a number of pieces of legislation right now. We've already passed out of the Energy and Commerce Committee and out of the House of Representatives. It's over in the Senate now, where all good bills go to die, but nevertheless, it's in the Senate now. It's the Less Cost, More Transparency Act. In that, I've got 2 bills. One is the Drug Price Transparency and Medicaid Act that will prohibit spread pricing in Medicaid. Spread pricing, where the insurance company pays $5 for a drug but charges $10 for a drug. You've heard about spread pricing. You've heard about the lawsuits, one most recently in the state of Ohio, where they are suing a PBM because of the spread pricing that they've done in the past. The Attorney General in Ohio referred to the PBMs as gangsters. That's his words, not mine. Referred to them as gangsters. Folks, I'm telling you, this is a shell game. Now, you know, yes, the ultimate solution to this is more competition, is not to allow an insurance company to own a PBM, is not to allow a PBM to own a pharmacy. That is the ultimate solution. But I've also got another bill in the lower cost transparency, and that's the PBM Accountability Act, and this is the key, and hear me on this, okay? This is the key. This will call for more transparency. This will require the insurance companies, the PBMs, same thing, PBM insurance companies, same thing. This will require them to make available to the employers the discounts that they are getting on these drugs, where they will be able to see the discounts that they are getting. That's the key. More transparency. Hence the title of the bill, lower cost, more transparency. That's what we're trying to do. Also working on a couple of other things. One of them I think is important to mention is the Protecting Patients Against PBM Abuses Act. That does this, okay? And it's already passed out of the Energy and Commerce Committee, and it's before the House right now. What that does is it delinks the pricing of it delinks the PBM compensation, I should say, from the price of the drug. It means that they can make a fee, yes, but it's not going to be based on the price of the drug, because it's an incentive there for them to dispense a higher price drug so that they get a higher percentage. That would delink this. That would take away their incentive to push more expensive drugs. I used to find it so baffling that a brand name drug would be on a formulary for an insurance company when a generic was available. And then I realized, you know what? They're getting more of a discount over here. No wonder they're putting it in there. That's the reason why. What this bill does is simple. It will make sure that at the point of sale, when that patient comes up to the counter, the same counter that I had to tell the senior citizen and I had to tell the mother, when they come up to that counter, they will be able to get that part, at least 50% of the discount. What's wrong with that? Now, you're going to say, and I've heard these other organizations say, well, that's unfair to those who aren't getting prescriptions filled, and it causes an increase in prices for everyone else. That's assuming that the PBMs are putting this towards going and lowering your health care cost and your premiums. Has your premium gone down? Mine hasn't. This is good legislation, and I hope this passes. And I want to thank Dr. Newton, and I want to thank those who are sponsoring this legislation. This is what we need to be doing for patients. Remember, it's patient care. That's what we're talking about here, patient care. We're not talking about profits. We're talking about patient care. Do pharmaceutical manufacturers need to do a better job on pricing? Yes, they do. But at least they're putting money into research and development. PBMs aren't putting any money into research and development, not one penny. They're putting money in their pockets. Again, I'm not opposed to anybody making money, but come on, guys. There was last thing, okay? There was a study done about a year and a half ago. Admittedly, it's a little aged. It was done by the Berkeley Research Group. Hear me now. Hear me. This study said that only 37% of the price of a drug goes to the pharmaceutical manufacturer. This wasn't me saying this. This is the Berkeley Research Group. Only 37% of the price of a drug goes to the pharmaceutical manufacturer, which begs the question, where does the other 63% go? It's going to the middleman. It's going to the PBM. I hope you will think seriously about this bill. This is good legislation. I applaud you for doing this. I thank you for doing this. More importantly, the citizens of the state of Georgia, thank you for doing this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll yield back.
Thank you, Congressman. Would you like to take a question?
I would love to take questions.
All right. So was that a rhetorical question, or did you really have one? Okay. All right, you're on number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Congressman, thank you for being here. I'm glad to see you've given up on D.C. passing bills up there and come down here. So we're
You don't get the money.
we're honored to have you. But I do have a question. So I mean, you understand how to look at things from different sides. I mean, you're an elected official, have been for a long time, and have represent a lot of people.
Started when I was 10. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I certainly appreciate your service. I know a little bit of what it takes, so we do appreciate it. But so looking at it from 2 lenses, if this is a good piece of legislation, and I'm looking at the NFIB put out a letter,
I'm aware.
and the state of Georgia is not going to do this, and large businesses, we're not going to put the mandate on them, but we are going to put the mandate on small businesses. So looking at it from both sides, why, if it's so good, why would we not go ahead and do it for everybody involved?
I met with some of the sponsors of the bill earlier today and asked them that specific question. It's my understanding this is part of the negotiations that have been going on throughout the process. Now, should it take place? I think it's important to note also, and I'm sorry I didn't bring this up before, you know that the state of California has dropped CVS, has dropped Caremark, Even the state of California, the left coast, they have decided that they can do a better job themselves. Just this past week, Tyco dropped CVS, dropped Caremark, just this past week. Caterpillar, years ago, did the same thing. They said, we're going to do our own PBM. What is Mark Cuban doing? He's doing his cost plus because he recognizes how much of a problem this is. I don't know the answer to your question. I don't know what took place in the negotiations throughout this process. I apologize for that. I do understand ERISA. We've made progress with ERISA thanks to the Rutledge case that was before the Supreme Court. But ERISA has always been a problem. When I was here, I remember we passed good legislation, and we did some good things up here, but it didn't apply to anything but state plans because of ERISA. And ERISA is something that they're trying to address in the Ed and Labor Committee right now.
Thank you. Good question, Senator Jackson. Witness 3. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I just need some clarification around what we're trying to do here. So my understanding of a PBM, it's like I recently bought a car, and instead of me going to the dealer and negotiating the price of the car, I had a car buyer go in, and they negotiated the price, and they did all the back and forth. I don't know what magic they worked, and I'm sure the car buyer got something out of it because he did a job for me. So he got paid something for making that negotiation, and then I ostensibly got a cheaper price on the car than I would have gotten if I had had to negotiate for myself. So my understanding is that that's what the PBM does, is that they, on behalf of people who are getting insurance, they go and do all the haggling for us with the pharmaceuticals who set their prices with no regulations, right? And they're doing all the haggling for me, so they get to get a cut because they're doing a job that I can't do well for myself. But what I feel like I'm hearing you tell me today is that you want us as a state to regulate how much the middleman who's doing a job gets to get paid. And I'm not familiar in this state where we do that with any other company. Like I don't know any examples where we say, you know what, guys? You're getting too much money, so we're going to stop that and make you have to give it to the person that you're helping to negotiate for. That's what I feel like is happening here. In a layman's, I don't live in the healthcare industry's terms, so please help correct me where I'm misunderstanding that we're trying not to pay the PBM for doing a job that I can't do for myself.
And look, as I've said, and I prefaced my remarks by saying I'm not opposed to anybody making money. I understand that. But if you look at the profits of the PBMs and you look at the price of medications, what we're trying to do here and what this legislation is trying to do, what this body's trying to do is to address high prescription drug costs. And you're exactly right. They are negotiating on your behalf.
Right.
The problem is, and this is where it's different, you're getting the benefit of that discount.
Right.
Prescriptions, the patients aren't getting the benefit of that discount. The PBMs aren't passing it on to the patients. They are not passing it on to, that's the difference. You hit the nail on the head. You described it perfectly. But you got the benefit of it. And that's all this legislation is trying to do, is to say, let's give at least half of the benefit to the patient. And let's do it at the counter.
Can I just follow up briefly? The actuality is I don't know that I got the benefit from my car buyer who bought it for me. I don't know. He could have negotiated for a higher price. I have no idea. I paid him because he did a job that I didn't want to do, which was he haggled with the car dealer. He negotiated, he worked something out for the car dealer that I didn't have to do. I don't know how much of a cut. I don't know how much of a profit he made. I have no idea, but I know he did a job that I didn't want to do and that I didn't feel skilled to do. So it seems to me that that's what the PBM does, is that they do a job that we as individual regular citizens aren't equipped to do, which is to negotiate with huge pharmaceutical companies who have us under a barrel because they have us over a barrel because they have the drugs that we need in order to live. The PBM is doing a job. And I feel like we are saying to the PBMs, we want to limit how much you get paid.
Well, you are right in saying that the PBM is doing a job. They are doing a job on the patients of the state of Georgia. I will assure you. Look, I'm not trying to limit anybody's ability to make money. It's a capitalistic society, and I get it. I understand that. But let me tell you, what we need is transparency. We gotta have, if we can look and see, and that's what my legislation in the Lower Cost, More Transparency Act will do. It will require these PBMs to show the employer the discount that they're getting. And what happened with the Attorney General in Ohio? They're suing them. And it's happened elsewhere as well.
Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me ask you something. If I'm a small business and say I have employees and I deal with insurance company and they basically ask for a history of the folks that work for me, I get a price from them. When you talk about the PBM, I get part of that cut coming back to me, which I spread over all my employees to reduce the insurance costs that I'm paying for them. Now, will this eliminate that?
It won't eliminate it, and first of all, I would make sure that you are getting a cut of that. And that's what my legislation does in the Lower Cost, More Transparency, is to let you, as an employer, see what the discount is going to be, so that you can see whether you're getting a cut of that or not. That's what this legislation will do. But look, it's going to benefit patients. And yes, patients are the 20-80 rule, 20% probably or 80% of the cost, like anything else. And they are going to benefit from it. And the higher cost drugs, they're going to be the ones to benefit from it. And every patient will benefit from it, though. And in this case, every patient is not benefited from it.
Thank you, Congressman Carter. Appreciate that. Certainly in the hot seat there, and
That's okay.
You did a great job.
Better here in
and,
D.C.
Yeah, I'm sure. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for
stay
sharing your
around.
wisdom. And what we're going to do is we have.